Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty, and today is the third and final Batman review we're doing this week. This one is the one I've actually been waiting for, looking forward to. I Am Batman, written by John Ridley. And I read a few things by John Ridley, and I've got to say, some of his stuff is the best I've ever read. But that is the history of the DC Universe, which at its heart is just first-person prose with comic book artwork in the background. Or maybe his writing in the background, depending on how you want to look at that. Either way, it's absolutely brilliant. Genuinely talented writer, can show emotion and viewpoints, and it gives a sense of place and time just so damned effectively that I kind of expected all of his stuff to be this good. But then I started reading his comic book stuff, where he's also in charge of pacing and layout and dropping the dialogue into scenes rather than just having it as something that happens and you're aware of it. And he seemed to lack a certain finesse, shall we say. Now, this has changed my mind back to being, damn, this guy's quite good. But since that's probably the vast majority of this 5-minute review, let's take a little bit of time to talk about the artwork. It won't take long. It's not very good. And I don't mean that to be like the guy can't draw or girl can't draw. Actually, I've just seen the surname there, Foreman. I'd have to actually check on gender on that one. Can't see it straight away. Ooh, Foreman. We'll just use that. They are good enough at putting lines on pages and showing faces and scenes. I'm going to show you the whole page here. All of that is perfect. Renee Montoya there, clearly being angry, clearly being disgruntled, clearly being inquisitory. Like it's all there, but it's so flat, and the colouring does not help. There's so little additional work for the inker to put in there that it all relies on digital computer colouring. And it's one of my least favourite things, and especially when it's done like this instead of allowing the pencils and the inks to show what's going on. It's not enough. And for kind of like a key issue for their new Batman character, it unfortunately shows a little lack of faith to me. And I feel like DC need to up their game a little bit. You got John Ridley on it, you're doing brave and unusual things. Don't fall into the trap of doing in-house style artwork and lazy coloring. Do something better. This comic deserves it. And the reason it deserves it is the writing and specifically the story. We'll do the writing first in terms of the actual words appearing on the page, because the dialogue is actually way better than I thought it was going to be. Certainly better than I remember it being in other Batman comics I've read by the same writer. He seems to have fallen into his groove a little bit, and it's a groove I quite like, because it is that naturalistic, conversational, real-world dialogue the Bendis does so well, and it's nice to see somebody else kind of taking a shot at it. And this means people interrupt each other, there are weird pauses, there are times where people just think about stuff, they correct themselves in the middle of conversations. It feels like real people talking to other real people rather than actors reading a script that's been written to make them sound grandiose or whatever other traits you want them to have. This feels like real, live people talking to each other. And that's quite good, because the actual Batman story in it is also quite real life. It's effectively a story of power structures and where people fall in that and how one can dismantle them. And what's nice about the way it does it is it shows Batman from multiple viewpoints. In fact, the different viewpoints actually play into an awful lot what happens in this. It kind of starts with a peaceful protest in a reasonably downtrodden neighborhood, people wearing masks for a health reason, not the one you're thinking of. This is the Arkham Day thing. And the police basically responding to that as being like, well, I shouldn't have to, back down to thugs in masks. And yes, that language is exceptionally deliberate. I cannot stress that enough, that John Ridley is clearly saying something here. We're now at a point where I'm going to talk about politics for a while, because it is all about that kind of power structure. And sometimes it feels like Ridley is effectively playing a not all cops kind of game. He has Renee Montoya in it, who is a mask-wearing vigilante herself, and the current commissioner. And it's like, well, she does recommend somebody retires for doing something terrible, instead of just firing them. And it's made me thinking, well, is that a good take on it? But it's like, even a commissioner of police still has to play a political game. There's still more going on in the background, and allowing the characters to exist in that world is good, rather than showing a kind of idealized version from either side of it. There are problems with the police, and those problems come into Batman as well. He, following leads, goes to stop a false flag attack. Brilliant. I love it when they do stuff like that. But is only seen from an external point of view of a man in a uniform attacking protesters because nobody else knows what's going on. Sure, he's doing good, and for certain iterations of Batman, that will be enough. Like, he doesn't care what people think or say about him. As long as he knows he's done good, he will sleep well at night or in the day. But Jace actually wants to change that. He wants to reappropriate things. He wants to disrupt power structures. And to do that as Batman, he needs people to see why Batman is doing what he's doing and see what he's doing, like clearly being upfront and out there. And that's how it ends, with this idea that Batman is going to be something more. It's going to be an actual, instead of just a symbol that criminals fear, but it's maybe something that people can look up to. It kind of goes in the face of a lot of Batman mythology, but I'm never going to be one to say you cannot take an idea and change it and try and make it better. And I think Ridley, after quite a long time doing this, is now hitting that kind of beat where I think he's capable of doing it. Yes, I've gone a minute over, but I was bound to do on this one. But that's it for me for now. I have one last thing to review. Again, just taking a break from Batman, and it's one that came out last week, but I'm finally getting around to reading Taboo's Spirit Rider because it looks absolutely brilliant. Until then, take it easy. Look after each other. Stay safe. Bye.